After we launch a website, here are the checklist of items that you need to do to make sure that the site is good to go. So the first thing you want to do is go to this settings reading area, and we need to make sure that this checkbox is unchecked. Okay, so if it's checked, you need to uncheck it. So this needs to look like this. This is going to prevent this site from indexing in Google, which means if this is checked and it goes live, it's going to pull it out of Google's index. Leads are going to drop significantly because it will not be visible, and that will be very bad. So make sure that this checkbox is unchecked. Hit save. And then we go to the plugins area. Now this specific website has been pulled over from SiteGround. So there are going to be some plugins here from SiteGround. I'm going to actually deactivate and delete these plugins because we no longer need them. And then what I'm going to do is remove any plugins that are deactivated. So inactive plugins. And we're going to see Genesis blocks and all that. We're going to delete all those. So it's deleting these right now. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the update available section. And we're going to perform any updates that need to happen. So we're going to update those two. Elementor and Elementor Pro. Elementor Pro may give you an error the first time you update along with Elementor because they're tied together. So don't worry about that. Just refresh the screen if that happens, and then update Elementor Pro. So it worked perfectly. So go back to installed plugins, and all those should be updated now. After that loads. Alright, so now we have a core list of 5 plugins. That's beautiful. So we go to update. We're going to update the themes. So if you go to dashboard updates, we're going to update the themes, make sure those are good to go. And that should be pretty quick as well. And then we don't necessarily need to worry about updating WordPress just yet. So we're going to get that. Leave that alone right there. The only other thing that I see in this, we're going to check the permalinks area. The permalink should be set to post name or something that's easy to read, just not this one. So usually we use post name. So if plain is set, click it on put it to post name, but it should already be there. I always hit save changes just to make sure. And then the other thing is we're going to add the Yoast plugin to the install. And then once we get it installed and activated, we are actually going to configure the Yoast plugin to get the best results possible with SEO as a foundation out of the gate. Now there's other things we need to do with the SEO, but this will kind of enable and dial in some of the settings. So they have this first time configuration. We start there. So we hit the start button. It'll optimize the data. There's not too many pages. It'll take, be pretty quick. If there's a lot of pages, this may actually take a long time, but it says you can safely move on to the next steps if you want to. I like to wait until it's done because it's usually super quick. So just take another second. Once that's done, hit continue. Site representation, it's going to be an organization, website name, organization name, and then the logo is already saved, so we're going to hit save and continue. Social profiles, if there are social profiles, you want to put them in here. Now this is going to put it into the schema area of the website, which is important for Google to be able to file the website. So we're going to copy this link address. That's the Facebook. And then we're going to come over here to the Instagram. We're going to copy that link. We're going to add another one. Hit save. Now we don't have a Twitter just yet, so we're going to leave that blank. No, don't track my site data. Save and continue. Finish configuration. We're going to go to the SEO dashboard. And that is the first time configuration done. So we make sure to do that. Now the posts, actually let's walk through this as well. So site basics, there's the website name, tagline. We're going to come back to here. I like to do the vertical bar for this one. Site image, I'm going to go into the media library and I'm actually going to choose the logo for the site image. And then we're going to scroll down here and hit save. Once that saves, we'll be able to come back up here, go into the site representation, organization, the regenerative spa center. So this is very, very, very important that this is spelled correctly. So make sure it's 100% spelled correct. There's the social profiles we put in earlier. I'm not sure why it didn't save the organization name when we did the setup, but that's why we walk through this. Okay, so site connections, we're not going to do anything. Homepage, you're going to put the title there. Posts, we want posts to show up, but we're going to take out these and leave title. Then schema web page, that's fine. So skim this down to title, hit save changes, and we're going to do the same thing with pages. Now what this is doing is this is putting the site title as the title of the page, so we can control that by default. So if it says laser sculpting on this site, it'll be laser sculpting for the site title. So it's that. Landing pages, we're actually going to take landing pages out because we only want posts and pages. Content types, this is actually a custom post type that's being pulled in by the theme, and there could be 10, 15, 20, if it's a crazy theme or framework pulled in here. Basically, you only want to have posts and pages enabled unless those custom post types are certain, like portfolio, projects, some kind of custom post type that you do want to show up in Google. I do not want landing pages to show up in Google because it is something that we are not using. If you have a custom post type that you are using and it's called landing pages, then you'll want that to be indexed in Google. But I do not want this to be indexed in Google. So now we're going to move on to categories. We do not want categories because that will clutter the index in Google. And we do not want tags. So you may have seen in Google where it shows up and says, cooking is the category, and it shows up and now it's cannibalizing your other rankings because that's showing up and you have a cooking page but you have a cooking category, and now Google's confused because it's ranking both of them. So we just want the posts and pages showing up. So we're going to look at the crawl. We don't need to look at that. Okay, author archives. We are going to disable author archives as being well, we don't want it to show up in the index, but we just go ahead and remove that. Unless you're a blog site and you actually have authors, you'll remove that. Now, even if you do have authors, you can enable that, but disable this show. You can leave this enabled, but just disable this first one, so it does not show in the results, but it still shows your author archive pages. For this site, I'm going to disable that and make sure that it's not in Google, and we don't need it on the website, so I'm just cleaning up the site. Date archives, that's fine, but we just don't want it showing up in results. These are going to be unchecked by default. Special pages, this is fine. Media pages, this is disabled by default, so we'll leave that like that. And then RSS. So all this has been set up correctly. Remember, posts and pages are the only ones we want to show up in the search results. Skim it down to the title only. And then any custom post types, depending on what they are and why they are on the website, we can toggle this on and off based on use case. So again, site basics, website name, alternate website name, tagline. I do the vertical bar, site title or site image, and then walk through exactly as we did. Organization or person, put all your socials in there. Home pages, controls on the home page, post pages with that title, custom post type taken out, category and tags not showing in search results, author archives not showing in search results, media pages not showing in search results. Make sure those are absolutely set in stone, and you have done everything you need to do in the Yoast plugin and fully configured everything on the site. Now the only thing left would be in the pages section. Sometimes there is a sample page that's in here and you want to delete that. Sometimes in the post area there is a hello world post. You want to delete that. This one's already been taken out. And everything else should be good to go. The other section that I check is the widgets area. Now this is all, I don't like the look of this, so what I do is I go to plugins, add new, and I go over here to classic widgets and I install classic widgets. And once it's installed, makes it way easier to work with the widget section, in my opinion. So we're going to activate that, and then we're going to go back to appearance and widgets, and now it's super easy to work with. So these block sidebars, if we're not using these, then we can go ahead and take these off. These are archives, so categories, archives. And so this sidebar is going to show up on the website, but I don't think we are using that anywhere because we have service pages and we don't really have blog sidebar. But even if we did have a blog sidebar, we would want to craft what shows up in that sidebar. So I'm actually going to delete these. As long as you know what's in these, because typically it'll say cloud, recent comments, archives. You know, we don't need the archives, we don't need the categories. So typically there will be like a search box, you know, over in the sidebar, so I'll enable that. And then maybe recent posts, I might, you know, list the recent 5. So those are the only 2 that I would have in the sidebar, and leave it at that. So that is fully launching the website. After you get it launched, that's the post-launch checklist, and then everything will be good to go and ready for the client.